We're going to give you the thing I hate giving away. We constantly are asked for tactics, and we are finally going to give you a list of tactics, but there's a catch. We are going to challenge you to assign a role and a goal to the tactics so that you pre-decide what return on investment you're going to get. Hey, everybody, and welcome back to the Marketing Blender Show. I'm Dacia.
And I'm Daisy.
Now, today we are talking about sales mapping and the buyer's journey. Now, if you have watched any of our episodes, you know we are big believers in that this is one of the fundamental ways in which you make sure that you are successful, that sales and marketing is aligned, and you get massive return on investment in your business development and marketing efforts. So I'm super, super excited about this because one of the fundamental things that we see, Daisy, when people are brainstorming around marketing or sales or any revenue problems, is that they're like, what should we do? And this is an amazing paradigm shift to go, no, it's not what do you think you should do. Let's simply architect an experience for your most profitable, best, ideal customers, your buyer personas. And wow, the clarity when you're putting a human being and their preferences at the center of the question, what should we do? It gets really fun. And we see so much energy and ideas come from the team and really start building a profoundly effective marketing plan.
I agree. The question is never, what do I want the prospect to do? The question is always, what do they want to do?
Yeah.
That's the starting place.
Yeah, exactly.
So speaking of what do buyers actually want to do, number one, they want to make progress toward their goal. So understanding what their actual goal is, and the old saying, people never buy a drill bit, they buy a hole. So figuring out what is the actual thing that they want to accomplish is important. They want to go at their own pace. So sales likes to have the authority and the ability to set the pace and say, I want them to get on a sales call within X number of touches. You don't get to decide that. You get to encourage that. You get to create a journey that helps support that goal, but you have to go at the buyer's pace. Another thing that buyers want to do is reduce their risk. So the more you can de-risk the process, not just the process of buying the actual end solution or service or product, but the decision-making process and am I going to waste my time watching a demo piece of it? All of the steps along the way where they're risking loss of time, money, and attention. And then they want to avoid talking to salespeople for as long as possible. That's just the sad reality. So again, when you're creating that buyer journey, how much can you give them before they really do need to get on a sales call, or it's going to hurt them because they're not going to figure out and understand the right things because you're not having that two-way conversation. So as much as possible, you want to be doing business on their terms when it's still serving them at the highest level. And then the final thing that people want, and this is more and more common these days, is they want an experience that's designed for them. Some of that is about personalization or customization, but a lot of it is just about being thoughtful about, in general, what your buyers want at each stage. Because if you can make those generalizations, which is one of the things that marketing is supposed to be doing, is making correct assumptions about what people want at each step, then they feel like it's personal to them and built just for them, and it addresses all of their issues, and it doesn't put any roadblocks in their way. And that creates a more seamless buyer journey.
You know, I think the final thing I would add, and it's not an extra bullet point, if you will, but it's that when that buyer landed on a website or did research or found you in SEO or watched the video, they were looking for a solution to how to achieve a goal or how to solve a problem. They were already deciding to make progress. And so then understanding the priority that it holds, what it really represents. And so it really goes back to, the hole in the drill bit, what are they actually trying to achieve? You can create such great agreement and alignment with the buyer as long as you keep their priority and their motivation at the center of all of your decisions, no matter if it's on the marketing side or if it's in that belly-to-belly sales side. And it's just a more satisfying way to buy and to sell.
It is.
So we have a process that we call sales mapping, and it's literally a visualization about the buyer's journey in changing that paradigm where it doesn't matter if the touch point is marketing or word of mouth or referral or sales. What's the buyer's experience of that, and how do you assign a role and a goal So yes, this is about metrics and return on investment, literally deciding that on the front end, what are the most effective ways to serve your buyer, create speed to revenue, and have a wildly effective marketing plan that everybody is really behind. So where do we start when we are guiding our clients through sales mapping?
Yes, this is one of our favorite workshops. Let me say that about all of our workshops. But because this one it's where we shift from high level strategy into what do the tactics look like. And this is where businesses start being able to really figure out what are we missing?
Yeah.
Where do we go from here? So identifying all the potential tactics that could be used across the entire marketing and sales journey.
No editing.
Yep. Everything that you could possibly do, everything that has been done, how it worked, did it work, did it not work? If so, why do you think that happened? Oftentimes people will try a technique, but they won't do it necessarily in the best way. So, well, that failed or that doesn't work for us. We want to hear the whole story about everything.
Including well, we think we should be doing this, or we've always wondered if this would work. We want to see that. We want to see that.
We want to hear all of them. And there's almost always a surprise that my clients will bring to me in those where I'm like, oh, you really want to do that? Okay, let's take a look and see if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So I never just bring a client a list of things and say, here, choose from these. It's always about what's the most audacious idea that you have, and then let's figure out if that's feasible for you. So, of course, then we start the culling process. So we've got the long, long list. It might have 20, 30 tactics on it, and we're going to get rid of the ones that we know are unlikely to be successful. And often it's stuff that they have done in the past or are still doing and just need to stop, like print ads or stuff like that for their industry doesn't make any sense. It's just spend with no way to even track what's happening.
100%.
And out of what's left, then it's about what's feasible.
Yeah.
So we're just narrowing it down more and more. And we're looking at assets and tactics. So I like to not just look at, we could do Google ads here, but also, hey, later in the sales cycle, would an infographic make it easier for sales to communicate about this point than just talking about it or doing a demo or having some long white paper about it?
Yeah.
So we're looking at both tactics and assets throughout.
100%. And I like to look for friction also. So you map out all of the tactics, processes, assets, and then you go, what is working? What's not working? Or even not specific to what's on the sales map, but where are we losing people? It's amazing that companies have a tendency to get ghosted in the exact same place in the buyer's journey. And so then you can start to root cause analyze around, okay, why is that happening? Why there? What did the buyer really need right there to stay in confidence and to stay in progress? I love the word that you used earlier, to move towards their successful transformation, which is what a deal actually represents to them.
And this actually came up recently with a client where they were able to somehow finagle buyers onto demos, and then the prospect would just be like, and it was a horrible experience for the salespeople because they were getting the demos and the demos were going horrible. And that's because there hadn't been the right steps in the journey up to that point so that they could demo an excited prospect. So this is the kind of exercise where we go really deep into, okay, and what is happening that's making this fall apart? So your point, a lot of it is identifying those gaps.
I love it. That's such a great example. You can take a single tactic, chop it up into 3 touch points that are wildly more effective and actually don't slow things down, but increase the quality of leads and respect the buyer's journey and really maximize your return on investment instead of, well, we want to do a demo as quickly as possible. If your buyer doesn't want it, that is death to your brand reputation and your pipeline. Okay, so why don't we go through a couple of examples of what's in these? So where we start with sales mapping is we organize, like I said, by the role and the goal. So we have generate interest and awareness tactics and processes. Then we've got build trust, which is, are you who you say you are? So typically this is where we're starting to engage with time and what the buyer, engaging with where the buyer and the salesperson are talking. And then obviously, what are the components that help you close a deal? So Daisy, if we're looking at the top, at that early part of the buyers, give me some examples that you commonly see or that you might see in that first phase.
Sure. And just before we get started on deep diving a few of these tactics, we will drop the entire list in the show notes. So this is our B2B sales mapping tactics list. So be sure to check that out and grab a copy.
You're welcome.
Yes, you're welcome. So obviously, top of funnel, the first thing that comes to mind for most people is social media. And in B2B, LinkedIn is the one that most people think about. But we've actually found that a lot of clients need to be on additional platforms based on, for example, do they need to build their talent pipeline as well as their customer pipeline? Or where are they most likely to be tagged and reshared by the influencers, especially if it's like demand gen where they need someone who can connect with someone who's upstream of a decision.
Exactly.
So we may find all kinds of different places that they should be on social media. None of them should be on all the social media platforms, but we don't mark stuff off the list until we look at it and consider it.
And so frequently those will activate referrals. Talk about speed to revenue. So just understanding what are we really doing. Agreed. Another one for me is paid lead generation, because we're using keywords. We can see what they're searching. And sometimes that is the first time that they ever came across your brand, came across your offering, because they're searching for solutions. And so we're looking at the intent. Now, the intent might be research. So it could be higher in the funnel where it's a slower process, or it could be what are my options, which is more of a buying, which accelerates that, but those are some additional ones that I love, that we frequently see in that phase. Are you a CEO of a business-to-business company? Maybe you're a sales leader or a salesperson, or maybe you're in business-to-business marketing. Well, if so, I wrote a book for you, and it's called Corporate Caffeine. Business-to-business marketing is different, but there are certain predictable fundamental principles that will help you unleash your organizational potential and fill your pipeline sustainably. So you can find my book on Audible, on Amazon, on barnesandnoble.com, or any of your favorite retailers. Hope you enjoy it, and I'd love to hear your feedback.
And just to name a few more, obviously, speaking engagements, we talk about that all the time. Organic SEO for our B2B clients, often there are some really easy wins for organic, although it's a long-term play, but it's awareness that keeps on giving. And then guest speaking, podcasts for some clients, and sometimes it's not run your own, sometimes it's get on others.
Yeah.
And then thought leadership is also, if you've got a smart CEO or a set of subject matter experts, and you can get in industry publications, that's excellent.
And trade shows.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, so moving into Build Trust, the big behemoth, and Build Trust is your website, is in this area, because now buyers are spending time, they're investigating, they're owning, okay, what do I believe about this company, and is it the right fit for me? So the website's always in this phase. It can show up in multiple places, but it's always in this phase.
It is. And so is email, because that's how we nurture people.
Sales presentations,
for
sales
sure.
follow-up.
Yes. And anything that has to do with early stage education.
Yeah.
So before the demo, stuff that people need to know and be aware of. And that can use some of the platforms that are used earlier in brand awareness, just pinging them back in. But it's really about being intentional around what collateral am I using. And I always tell this story. I had a client a couple of years ago, and they were a value-added reseller. So they actually had 1,400 pieces of sales collateral. No. A lot of this part is about what are the 5 to 10 pieces that help buyers make progress. You don't use any of the rest of it. You need to stop slowing things down by creating uncertainty with information overload.
Great point. Marketing is not only additive, you need to kill some stuff.
You do.
I love it. And then as we move into the close the deal, I find that people are surprised that we're talking about tactics and marketing in the close the deal phase, but no money ever jumped miraculously into your corporate account because somebody gave you a verbal yes. There are always steps. So proposals, estimates, price negotiations, if you choreograph this and use your tribal knowledge to go, how do these people expect to, navigate through that pricing conversation, you can build so much value in that process. So those are some that need to be named and then optimized in this.
And one final one that I would add there is sometimes being able to show what's going to happen in the post-sale process. Like, this is our onboarding guide.
Love that.
Amazing way to help seal the deal, because people are confident that things aren't just going to fall apart after they write a check.
I love that. And the final thing I'm going to add is sometimes the touch points are oogie ones. So terms and conditions, or certain technical validations or specification. And people don't think about that as sales and marketing. So then they don't do it intentionally. They do it on an as needed basis. And that is horrible because we're talking about the buyer and customer journey, their experience, and their experience includes legal review, if that's the industry, or compliance or anything. And so then you need to build that in and predict how to drive value and how to really help them through that. I know we're going pretty fast, but like Daisy mentioned, we're going to make this easy for you. We literally are giving you a list to think about the roles and the goals of how your marketing plan, if it's based on a customer journey and a buyer experience, how that's going to look to you. So make sure you check out the show notes. You're welcome because you're going to love it. And we would love to hear your questions. So thanks so much. Couple other resources. Our book, Corporate Caffeine, literally can show exactly how to do this on a DIY basis. So if you want to guide your team through this process, check out that book. It will give you a guide on how to do that. And for more, how to go deeper, make sure you hit subscribe on that button because we really go deep in all of these aspects. So thank you so much. We will see you next week. Onward and upward.